Joe Thomas Unfiltered. The harsh reality facing the Browns and why Shedeur Sanders must brace for the storm. For the better part of the last quarter century, the Cleveland Browns have existed in a perpetual storm. A storm of instability. A storm of dashed hopes. A storm of quarterbacks chewed up and spit out by a franchise that has struggled to find consistency in its most vital position. Ask any fan in the dog pound, and they'll tell you. Heartbreak has become as synonymous with Cleveland football as the barking masks and bone-crunching hits once were. And into this storm walks Shedeur Sanders, the 22-year-old rookie quarterback with a famous last name, a spotlight brighter than most, and the heavy burden of history on his shoulders. Few people know the unforgiving terrain of Cleveland better than Joe Thomas, the legendary left tackle who spent 11 grueling years protecting whoever lined up under center. Thomas was there for the revolving door of quarterbacks. He endured the carousel of coaches. And now, from the safety of retirement, he's speaking candidly about what makes success in Cleveland such an elusive dream. On the Glory Days podcast, hosted by Johnny Manziel, himself a cautionary tale of Cleveland's quarterback curse, Thomas cut through the excuses and pointed squarely at the Browns' inability to provide one simple thing: patience. A history written in quarterback turmoil. To truly understand the weight Shedeur Sanders carries, one must revisit Cleveland's tortured history since the franchise's rebirth in 1999. In that time, the Browns have fielded more than 40 different starting quarterbacks. That's not a typo. 40. From Tim Couch, the #1 pick in 1999, to names like Kelly Holcomb, Charlie Fry, Derek Anderson, Colt McCoy, Brandon Weeden, and yes, Johnny Manziel, the Browns have cycled through passers like a band changing drummers. Baker Mayfield briefly appeared to be the savior. Drafted first overall in 2018, he carried swagger, energy, and a rocket arm. For a fleeting moment, hope returned. Mayfield even delivered the Browns' first playoff win in 26 years, stunning the Pittsburgh Steelers in January 2021. But less than 18 months later, he was shipped off to Carolina. Another casualty of Cleveland's endless search for the guy. The scars of instability run deep. Players come and go. Coaches are hired and fired. Draft picks are squandered. And through it all, the Browns' identity as a quarterback graveyard has only solidified. Joe Thomas points the finger. When Johnny Manziel asked Thomas on Glory Days why quarterbacks struggle in Cleveland, the Hall of Fame tackle initially hesitated. But then he spoke with the clarity of a man who lived it. I think the patience is probably a little bit less, maybe in Cleveland than elsewhere because of the turnover we've had, especially in the coaching position, Thomas explained. And so we have given up on guys, coaches, quarterbacks, offensive coordinators, other position players probably sooner than we should have because there is this need, this desire to turn this thing around and win, and become that juggernaut that the fans want. He's right. Since their return as an expansion franchise, the Browns have employed 11 head coaches. 11. Chris Palmer, Butch Davis, Romeo Crennel, Eric Mangini, Pat Shurmur, Rob Chudzinski, Mike Pettine, Hugh Jackson, Freddie Kitchens, and now Kevin Stefanski. The list reads less like a lineage of leaders and more like a revolving door of desperation. Each change reset the clock. Each change brought new systems, new schemes, and new philosophies. For a quarterback, that instability is poison. How can one develop when the playbook keeps changing? How can one gain confidence when the voices guiding him are swapped out every 24 months? Thomas contrasted the Browns' chaos with Patrick Mahomes' golden landing spot in Kansas City. Mahomes, armed with once-in-a-generation talent, also benefited from stability. Andy Reid at head coach, Eric Bieniemy at offensive coordinator, a culture of continuity. That foundation, Thomas noted, provides a quarterback the lifeline needed during inevitable struggles. When you're feeling down and your ego is low and you don't feel confident in yourself anymore, Thomas said, you can lean on that person in their experience, and it helps you block out the noise to push through. It's a luxury Cleveland quarterbacks rarely enjoy. The price of firing coaches. The Browns' impatience hasn't only hurt player development, it has drained resources. Each firing came with financial baggage. From Hugh Jackson to Mike Pettine to Rob Chudzinski, the Browns shelled out millions in buyouts. In total, more than $63 million went to head coaches shown the door before their contracts expired. Factor in offensive coordinators and assistants, and the wasted figure skyrockets even higher. That money wasn't just a line item. It represented opportunity cost, the draft picks, the roster improvements, the long-term planning that could have been. Instead, it went into the pockets of men no longer working in Cleveland, while the cycle of instability raged on. Ownership's costly missteps. Thomas didn't absolve ownership either, and frankly, how could he? Jimmy and Dee Haslam have presided over some of the franchise's most consequential blunders. The most glaring, of course, is the Deshaun Watson trade. In 2022, the Browns surrendered 3 first-round picks and more to the Houston Texans in exchange for Watson, then handed him a fully guaranteed $230 million contract, the first of its kind in NFL history. At the time, it was hailed as bold. Today, it looks disastrous. Watson has battled injuries, suspensions, and inconsistency. As co-owner Jimmy Haslam admitted this past April, "We took a big swing and miss with Deshaun. We thought we had the quarterback, we didn't. And we gave up a lot of draft picks to get him, so we've got to dig ourselves out of that hole." It was an unprecedented gamble that crippled the team's flexibility and left the franchise reeling. Baker Mayfield, the almost savior. Before Watson, there was Mayfield, the fiery Heisman Trophy winner who briefly reignited belief in Cleveland. But his story illustrates everything Thomas described. Drafted in 2018, Mayfield showed immediate promise. He broke the rookie touchdown record. He brought swagger to a beaten-down locker room. But instead of continuity, he got chaos. Hugh Jackson, the coach who drafted him, was fired mid-season. Offensive coordinator Todd Haley didn't last. By year 2, Mayfield was on his 3rd head coach. The result? Career derailed. Mayfield's time in Cleveland ended not with a parade but with a trade. Another cautionary tale of wasted potential. Enter Shedeur Sanders, the pressure cooker. Which brings us back to today. The Browns have turned the page yet again, this time drafting Shedeur Sanders, son of NFL Hall of Famer and Colorado head coach Deion "Primetime" Sanders. Shedeur arrives with immense expectations. His college career was electric. His pedigree is undeniable. His confidence radiates. But as Thomas warns, none of that will shield him from the furnace of Cleveland football. "I think when you're a young quarterback, you're going to have ups and downs," Thomas cautioned. "I don't care if you're Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, or Shedeur Sanders. There's going to be ups and downs. But the magnifying glass just gets bigger and bigger, and the pressure builds every time you do have a little bit of a dip." Already, Sanders has lived both sides of the coin. His preseason debut turned heads, showcasing poise and accuracy. But by the preseason finale, he had absorbed 5 sacks, raising concerns about pocket awareness and offensive line play. For a rookie, those growing pains are normal. In Cleveland, they're magnified under a microscope. Can Stefanski be the difference? If there's hope for Sanders, it lies in Kevin Stefanski. Unlike his predecessors, Stefanski has brought rare stability to Cleveland. Hired in 2020, he's lasted longer than nearly every coach in the expansion-era Browns. He guided the team to that long-awaited playoff win in his first season. His calm demeanor and offensive background give Sanders a better chance than many of his predecessors had. But Stefanski, too, is under pressure. Every Browns coach is. One bad season can turn patience into panic. And if ownership grows restless, Sanders could be the next quarterback caught in the churn. The dog pound paradox. Through it all, the one constant has been the fans. The dog pound remains fiercely loyal, filling First Energy Stadium despite decades of disappointment. Players from Jason Kelce to Travis Kelce have admitted they dreamed of wearing the orange and brown as kids. That loyalty is both a blessing and a curse. The energy is unmatched when things go well, but the scrutiny is suffocating when things unravel. Sanders will feel both. Conclusion: bracing for the inevitable. Joe Thomas's words are both a warning and a plea. He knows the cycle. He lived it. He understands that for Shedeur Sanders to thrive, patience and stability must finally prevail in Cleveland. But history suggests otherwise. The Browns remain a franchise haunted by their own impatience, undone by their own desperation. For Sanders, the challenge isn't just reading defenses or avoiding sacks. It's surviving the culture of chaos that has swallowed so many before him. The rookie quarterback may have the pedigree, the talent, and the charisma, but in Cleveland, that has never been enough. And until the franchise proves it can provide the stability Joe Thomas describes, Shedeur Sanders must brace himself for the inevitable. The ups, the downs, and the relentless magnifying glass that defines life as the Browns quarterback.